Warning, warning. This is a global ice out. Global ice out. Testing the right speaker. Right. Testing the left speaker. Left. Sound successfully recovered. Swan Commander. Connected. And now, the countdown has begun. And now, are you ready for a journey that goes beyond the norms? The Federal Prospects Hockey League just celebrated its 15th anniversary. With a footprint and fan base rapidly expanding, Swan Hockey is now bringing you behind the scenes. Beyond what you see at games. Beyond the arenas. Beyond the crowds. This is FPHL, Beyond the Glass.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of FPHL, Beyond the Glass. I'm your host, Eric Swanick, Swan Commander on social media. We are at the final team episode. This is team episode, the 14th team. Last but not least, better than least but not last, we got the Pee Dee Ice Cats. So we're going to head over to Ice Cat territory this episode. We're going to be joined by Ice Cats head coach, Gary Graham. Let's get into it.
Hey, everyone. Don't forget to join the Swan Hockey Discord server. Joining is free and gains you access to our podcast chats, giveaways, season pass discussion and help, junior hockey camps and showcase discussion, NHL on Xbox and PlayStation discussion, and more. Join today for free at swanhockey.com.
Gary, how's it going? How's your summer?
Good. Yeah, it's exciting times. Obviously, today the chiller got delivered. We've been stressing about that. You know, it was supposed to be there a week or two ago. Got a nice brand new chiller, so we're going to be able to start laying ice in that arena here pretty soon. But, you know, we've been, Nick Graham and myself have been busy at work since I took the job recruiting and building the team. Inheriting, obviously, the Hudson Valley roster, as you're aware, kind of identifying what guys off that roster we want to keep and all the free agents that have shown interest in coming down and playing for us. It's been an exciting time, but I'll be the first to admit, you know, there's still a lot that I have to personally learn about this league. It operates way differently than a lot of the other leagues that I've been in. So, you know, I think there's going to definitely be a learning curve for me, no matter how many years I've been coaching. You know, anytime you go into a new league, there's different player personnel, different players. You got to learn the new coaches. There's different rink dimensions that you have to know how to play in. Some rinks are set up differently than others. So, yeah, I'm really excited to kind of learn the coaches, learn the league, and get to know the fans.
Yeah, absolutely. And how's that been so far? Like, what are some of the differences that you're finding, you know, throughout this process?
You know, I think the biggest thing is always a player personality. Like I love recruiting. Okay. It's one of my favorite things to do, but you're recruiting typically a different type of player for this league is what I've learned. You know, you want to obviously my job is to get the best players and recruit. You know, I think that's one of the primary things that I head coaches and / GM. And that's what I am is with the help of Nick Graham, who's done a great job as well, is to find the best players and the ones that really want to be a part of a culture. You know, we're starting something from scratch. If you know anything about the Pee Dee region and Florence, where we're going into, it's a very tight-knit community. You know, we really want to focus on getting out there in the community, into the schools, into the businesses, into any type of charity events that we can do, and really try to bring the fans in close. I think that's, of all the leagues I've coached in, I think this league kind of reminds me of the old IHL2 that I used to coach in Fort Wayne. You know, basically what I mean by that is that I think if I put myself in a fan's shoes, you know, I love my time in the ECHL, and you see where the ECHL is going, some great players. But, you know, the fan base, they're looking at different names a lot every single year. There's a major, you know, and so, you know, that little kid that falls in love with a certain hockey player, you know, you might see him for a year or two and then he's gone. He's gone to Europe. He's gone somewhere else. You know, his NHL deal runs out or something like that. Whereas, you know, in the old IHL2, you know, you'd have that core group of like 8-10 guys, and they'd be in that community for 4, 5, 6 years. In Fort Wayne, a lot of those guys, as I still live here in Fort Wayne, we have 92 former Comet players that live in Fort Wayne. It's unbelievable.
That's awesome.
and that's the way it used to be in minor league hockey. And, you go to the game and everybody would have those guys' jerseys on their back. It's like nowadays with minor league hockey, certain leagues, it's like, you buy Joe Blow's jersey and he's gone right away. He's traded right away,
Yeah, 3 weeks later, gone.
Yes. And so what I like about this league is that they're very ingrained. It's some smaller communities too. And so I think it gets even closer into the community with these teams and how they operate. And I think, from what I can tell based on research is that you have the core group of guys. A lot of times they're happy to be in the Federal Hockey League, and it's a very good product. They're not looking for where the grass is greener, to quote unquote, so-called go up, a level. They want to be the best at this level, and they want to help their team win a championship. So you see a lot of the same core group of guys in this league for year after year after year. And I think that's why the product reminds me so much of the old Central League and the IHL too. It's an older league, and so you got a lot more experience, more veteran guys, and I'm excited to work with kind of older guys.
Sure. And like another interesting thing to that point, like I think this league has done a really good job in terms of the fan engagement. So not only, right, like there's that aspect of it too, where the players may be here longer than in a league like the ECHL, but I think the actual fan engagement, I think this league has done a really nice job, especially, some cities that, have done a really nice job with the team becoming part of the community. And it goes both ways. I mean, like there's even coaches and in this league that have said that fans have, opened up their doors to them and welcomed them with open arms and, for different things. It's really cool to see.
Yeah, no, 100%. I've heard actually some of those stories too as well. And, you just take a look around the league. Obviously there's some new teams in the league, Indiana, Topeka, and us. And I think we're all three. I'm very familiar with the Indianapolis, Indiana team, I should call them. But I'm very familiar, obviously, being from Indiana, that hockey market, and I know how much they love hockey. And I think Topeka will be great getting that one fired up. And, obviously in Pee Dee and Florence, we've had ECHL hockey there years and years ago. And a lot like Atlanta and Houston have been jonesing for an NHL team. This market has been jonesing for professional hockey. So you can see where Scott Brand's done a great job of hitting the ground running with Phil Bork there in the front office, selling tickets. The engagement with corporate, the engagement with season ticket holders has been really good for a first-year team. And, you can credit Parker that too. He's hired the right people. He's gotten the right people in place. We've seen what he did last year with his other partners there in Monroe and how they got up and running and how I think they set the attendance league last year. I'm pretty sure they were number one, I think.
Yeah, we were just talking about this on a previous episode. I think they did one of the attendance records. I forget. I don't remember which one it was off the top of my head. I think they split with Binghamton. I think somebody had the overall, somebody had the average. I think Monroe had the overall. But yeah, I mean, like it's been, really great to see. And like, obviously he did a great, Parker's done a great job in Monroe, and I know Parker's done, a ton of work and, obviously getting this going in Pee Dee. You mentioned the chiller arriving and, boards, glass, everything. There's so much that goes into it than just, hey, let's start playing hockey in Pee Dee. Right. And I know Parker's done a great job and done a ton of work, making this all a reality.
Yeah. Well, I gotta give credit where credit's due. Kevin, one of the other owners, has been unbelievable working with and really kind of the unsung hero in this that really got me to take the job with my familiarity with him is Nick Graham. And again, everybody thinks we're related, but we're not. But okay. Nick and I go way back to Pensacola days. And, I remember when I was in Pensacola last year, and he was on the ground floor kind of going, because I talked to him and when he was going into Florence to scout the area and start talking to people and seeing if there was interest, he's been on this since day one. And, obviously his relationship with Parker, everything kind of came together and stuff. But, there's been a lot of people behind the scenes that have been doing a great job with this. And, I'm just excited to be a part of. We got a good group of guys coming in. We're excited to put it all together. That's the biggest challenge for me is you got a bunch of guys that play for different coaches. I run a different system prior than they've run before. We got to get chemistry going. And it's not a long training camp. We don't have an exhibition game. So we get thrown into the fire with a very good Columbus team. I used to coach against Boom Boom in Columbus when I was in Pensacola back in 2012, and I know how good his teams are, how prepared they'll be coming in for that home opening weekend.
Sure. Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about building a team and what, what you expect and what the fans, can expect from you. Obviously you've had a lot of success, right? You've won 3 championships in 3 different leagues at 3 different levels, right? Off the top of my
Yeah.
head, you won one in the USHL, one in the SPHL, and one in, was it the CHL?
Yeah, so I won three in this. I won three as an assistant coach in Fort Wayne. So two of those were in the IHL two. The last one was in the Central Hockey League, and then I went
Okay.
to Pensacola my first year and was fortunate enough to have a good group of guys. We won a championship there. And the USHL, that was when Jeff Blash was there with the Indiana Ice. I was there as well, running the U18 AAA team and kind of piggybacking on that. So I didn't play a big part in that, to be honest with you, but it shows up on my resume, and I'm not trying to claim really that one. So, but the ones at Fort Wayne and one at Pensacola are dear to my heart. It's funny though, last year I never in my wildest dreams would have thought, with everything I've done in my career, I get fired from Pensacola. It was kind of a shocker. We're obviously not doing great win-loss records, but we did set an SPHL record. We had an unbelievable amount of call-ups last year to the ECHL, and I was very happy for those guys. But it's almost like I over-recruited last summer, and I am a recruiter, and I was very almost gun shy this summer when I took this job about the type of players I was bringing in, because I don't want to have to deal with that again. I mean, it was a very challenging year last year for me as a coach. We had a great group of guys that stuck with it. They worked hard every day, but just put yourself in my shoes. Just imagine on a weekly basis, every single week, in the first 2 months of the season, you got your phone ringing on a Thursday, you've been practicing all week, and you get your top players pulled from you. And this wasn't like, just one guy. We're talking about 9 guys, and so you're talking about your top 2D, your all your centermen, you got 3 or 4 of your best centermen all gone. And, so we had to make a lot of adjustments on the fly. It was challenging for our team. But again, they did stick with it. We had a lot of tough losses, overtime losses, 1-game losses, but it was a bit of a knock to me personally. I didn't think I was going to coach this year. I was really ticked off because, I felt like I worked really hard last season to build that team. Unfortunately, it didn't work out, but, I love my time in Pensacola, and I just thought I was going to hang them up and honestly just keep focusing on my business. And but this opportunity was really special because Parker did a great job in Monroe. He's obviously got a foundation, a blueprint for what worked in Monroe, and he's going to bring that over to PD. And I just want to win. I want to win a championship every year. That's my goal. I was blessed early in my career to win a lot of them. And I haven't had one now in quite some time, and I'm thirsty for one. And I think Parker and Kevin are going to give me the resources and the tools, and we'll have the community to back us up to try to make that happen this year.
Sure. Yeah. And what I want to ask you, like, so obviously, with your history and, having success at various different levels, different leagues, what can the fan base expect from you? What kind of team are you building? You mentioned the culture. What does that Gary Graham culture look like now, building this team from scratch? Right. So obviously, as you mentioned, inheriting some guys from the Hudson Valley roster, but coming into something where the culture has to be built, right? There's not an established culture yet in PD. So you get to build that from the ground up. What does that look like to bring that Gary Graham philosophy here?
Well, we just want to be tough to play against, especially on home ice. Even when we lose a game, we still want that opposing team to be like, man, we don't want to play them again. And that's just a mindset of coming to work every day. I'm a big believer in the wins on Friday and Saturday that happen on the weekend. They don't really take place in those moments. They usually take place in that work that you put in during the week, the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday grind of the week in the gym, in the film room. I'm a big prep guy, and I think my job is to make it difficult on them during the week, so where when the games come, it's a little bit easier for them. I think for me, puck possession, we want to be a team that really forces the other team to defend. Our rink dimensions, I don't know if you know this or not, but we're going to have a rink. It looks like right now, I went down there for the press conference and I couldn't see exactly where it's going to be at, but I've been told it's going to be kind of shaped more like Roanoke or Knoxville, where it's going to be a smaller neutral zone.
Okay.
Smaller rink. So transition game is going to be extremely important. Things are going to be happening very quickly. And we have a very fast, quick transition team. And so, getting them to play that way and think that way, not only checking quickly defensively so we can get onto the counter transition game, but also, just how we play with the puck, how we compete without the puck. The thing is, when you're starting a team from scratch, I'm inheriting guys that played for all kinds of different coaches last year, really with the exception of Houston Wilson and Miguel Diaz that have played for me in Pensacola. They know me intimately. They know how I coach. They know my structure, my system.
Sure.
I'm going to really lean on those guys to help kind of reiterate that through the room, especially through training camp when we get our systems in place and start building the bricks of the foundation here. But, it's, sometimes, some of these guys, especially some of the star players that maybe we have that have been in the league, I've watched film on all these guys, just because you score 50, 60 points doesn't mean that you get to not block shots. It doesn't mean that you get to turn away from the puck. It doesn't mean you get to take undisciplined penalties and still be in my lineup, So there's going to be a different way, I think, that some of these guys are going to get coached compared to what they've had before. And, I'm going to be perfectly blunt, in our training camp meeting with that is that, we want to raise the bar on all these guys. And they could have had it. They could have been coming off a career year last year for themselves. And I'm still going to push them. I'm still going to push them to be better. And I'm going to hold them more accountable, especially with their play without the puck.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, because that's part of, I say pretty much every week, one of the themes of this show has been pushing the pace of the league, right? The league is on a trajectory up. It's getting better and better every year in every way. I mean, again, the footprint, the fan base, the level of player, the level of coaching, everything's getting better, right? So what was good or even great in the league last year needs to elevate next year, right? Because as everything's moving up, moving forward, the players have to move with it, right? Not to be complacent, right? Is,
Yes.
Pretty much, kind of the gist of this is like, yeah, like, okay, that's great. Like, 50, 60 points in the league. There was a point in time where that was, so appreciated. Hey, we don't care if you don't block a shot, right? But now it's like, no, we want more. We're demanding more. The fan base is demanding more. Everybody's demanding. Everything's moving forward, moving up, getting better. And it's expected to, that of the players as well.
Well, and again, I respect all the coaches in the league. I've watched film on everybody, but you take a look at our schedule. I really feel like we got the toughest schedule in the league. I mean, the majority of our games are against some really seasoned franchises. You take a look at our schedule. Majority of the games are against Athens, Columbus, Carolina, Blue Ridge, Bingo, Danbury. If you look at our schedule, that's pretty much our whole schedule. And if you look at those organizations, they're very good organizations. And so we're not going to have, an easy night. And really in any league, no night's an easy night. But, that's something I use as a recruiting tool, honestly, during the summer, because some of the guys, that we've signed that came from some other leagues, they don't want to be a part of a game where it's 8-0. Nobody wants that. Okay.
Right. Especially if you got to drive 10 hours to go do it, right? Drive 10 hours, win 8-0.
Even if you're winning that, even if you're winning that game, my guys want to compete. That's what I want to do as a coach. I want to compete. I want to match wits with another coach. I want to make adjustments in a game. I want to challenge my guys and be a part of a process that challenges the mind and the body and the heart and all that stuff. And I think our schedule is going to allow our guys to do that. I think we're going to get challenged right out the gate. And prepared everybody, for that during the summertime. We got to be on it right away. I told everybody I expect them to come into camp in the best shape ever. Anybody that's played for me knows I'm kind of nuts about gym and fitness, and you better be in shape. I mean, I've cut guys in training camp when I've seen them with their shirt off and they look out of shape. I mean, I've done it countless times because you're not going to play for me out of shape. So, there's certain things that I have that are deal breakers. And the guys
negotiables.
Yeah, exactly. And for me, if, none of us are getting rich doing this at this level, but, you got to take care of your body, because if you're not taking care of your body, you're probably letting your mind go too as well. And you're doing bad off the ice habits. And we just want a good group of character guys that are serious about coming to the rink, having fun. And guys that play for me will tell you, I love to have fun. I work hard, play hard. That's kind of me. So, I love doing things with the guys out in the community and doing team bonding things. But, it's a lot more fun. And this is a bit of a cliche, but, when you're winning, things are a lot more fun. And, we hope to do a lot of that this year.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, that's one thing I think anybody that's ever worked in, probably any sport, it's honestly, it's probably, same with anything in life. Like when things are going well, everything's good, right? When things are going bad, that's when like some of the like
ridiculous problems that really aren't problems. Guys, oh, the locker room's too warm. Oh, the locker room's too cold, right? Like when you're on a, 5-game skid, everything, those little annoyances or whatever become, big problems. Like, hey, calm down. Like, so yeah, like when you're winning, you're having fun, like everything's better. And, it sounds like, to sum up a lot of what you just said, like, it's consistency that you're demanding out of the players, right? Like, in terms of physical fitness, you mentioned, preparing for the games, the week of practice. I think that's one thing that a lot of people don't realize. Coaches in any sport tell the players, hey, like, you got to play consistent, right? But it's like, okay, consistency, it's like, okay, how do we do that, right? It's about being consistent in your daily lives, right? You want to have a consistently great game. Well, be consistent in your daily lives. Don't be just an athlete on Friday night. Be an athlete Monday through Thursday at practice, in the gym, all that kind of stuff. Little increments along the way. So, it sounds like you're demanding a lot of consistency out of the guys. And yeah, it's really cool to see, because I was just when we were talking with Charlie Pence Jr. and Biloxi, we were talking about how some of the stuff that even that they're implementing, in terms of fitness and stuff, like it was like probably unheard of 10 years ago in the league. So it's really cool to see guys like yourself taking the charge and saying, hey, like, this is how it's going to be. We are going to demand this out of the players. This is how we're going to run the schedule. This is what we want here in the league and here in PD.
Well, it's about creating obviously, like you said, it's about the quality of player we're putting on the ice too. If you have guys that are just weekend warriors, there's been some guys. I mean, Dustin Gisso, who I'm very excited to work with. He's actually moved his family down. And he's going to be a full-time hockey player. Now, he hasn't been a full-time hockey player the last couple years. And there's several guys in this league that just kind of come on the weekends and play. Where they're not grinding with the team. Yep. During the week. I don't want any part to do with any of those type of players. And it's not a knock on those guys. I mean, maybe there's a time when you got to have an emergency guy based on your lineup to have to do that. I understand that, but it's something where we want to build a group of guys that want to be in there in the trenches every day. That's how you get your room tight. That's how you get them gelling together like that. I know Dustin's super excited to be a full-time hockey player. I can't wait to see what he can do this year, being a full-time hockey player and putting some nice weapons around him, which we'll have plenty of weapons to surround him with, and seeing him, hold himself accountable to a higher standard, because we know what he can do. Just playing on the weekends. We've seen the type of player he can be. So I feel like, he's even got another gear to show the league. And I know he's excited to do that. So, I think overall, everything that the owners and the coaches are trying to do is make the team better. And you see the type of quality players that every team is signing. It's got to make every organization adapt, right? So it's like you're looking at that roster. Oh, I got to play these guys 10 times. I better open up my wallet, go get a couple players here, and go sign a couple guys. You know what I mean? It makes everybody better when everybody else is competing like that in the free market. So I think the league is going to be on really good ground this year. I think it's going to be really competitive. There's going to be some cool storylines.
Yeah, I think so too. And I know they're expecting over 1 million fans through the gate this year, which is incredible. It's awesome to see and everything. I've thrown this question at pretty much everybody else. I want to throw it at you too. Who are you most looking forward to playing against?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, there's going to be a little rivalry, I think, with Athens, just because I got a couple of my former Pensacola captains on the team, Garrett Milan and then Malik Johnson.
Okay.
I know Malik's going to Athens camp with Marty there, and cool for Marty to go back to Allen, obviously, where he had a lot of success. That's a cool story for him. But, Ruts there is going to have a great team there in Athens. We play them quite a bit. But just that storyline right there, because I know how competitive Garrett is. He knows how competitive I am. There's probably going to be a funny little storyline there as well. The Carolina thing, of course, playing Blue Ridge and Carolina, Twin City now.
Yep.
And Harry and I are pretty close. We go way back. So I have a lot of respect for Harry. He's been around doing this a long time. I've talked to him. Heck, we used to talk back. I used to have some of his players in Fort Wayne's camp way back in the day. So just a first-class guy. You can see why he has success. His players really respect him. They go hard for him. There's definitely some storylines. I'd probably say Carolina's probably going to be the main one, just because they're so close proximity-wise and how often we play them. I'd probably say that's probably going to be the biggest one.
Sure. And how about in terms of anywhere in particular that looking forward to going?
Probably we go up to Binghamton around New Year's, I think it is, or in
Okay.
January. So I've never been into that rink. So that's one of the rinks that's kind of defied me. They were in the American League forever, and I never coached in the American League. So that was always a rink with the history of that rink. I'm a history guy, so that's definitely one I'm looking forward to. And of course, I'm looking forward to seeing the rink that Athens built. I talked to Marty a lot last year about it when it was getting built and stuff, and heard it's a great setup down there. So I'm curious to see how that's all set up down there. So probably those two places would be the two main ones I can't wait to see.
Okay, cool. Yeah, and I've been to Binghamton. Super nice as you would expect. And I've heard Athens is, I've seen pictures and everything. I've heard, Commissioner Don Kernan told me it was, unbelievable when he was there last year. But yeah, no, that's great. I mean, what's the most exciting part for you with all this and all the new, again, just, to reiterate, brand new team here in PD, like what's been the best part of it for you so far?
I don't know. Working with Nick Graham has been a lot of fun. Nick and I go way back. We've known each other so long. He actually, again, we both live in Fort Wayne, so we're around each other during the summertime all the time. He actually runs the pro skates in Fort Wayne, where my son, he's a freshman at Alvernia. He's an '04 goalie, has skated with Nick's group forever. So he's been close to my son for a long time. A lot of his players I've called up to Pensacola. I've had his guys in Fort Wayne's camp before because, Nick was a player advisor for so many years. So, the amount of time that I've talked with Nick over the phone or talked to him face to face, and now we get a chance to it's a big opportunity for him. He gets a chance to really put a stamp on his career, kind of going from the player advisor role more into hockey ops side of things. He's been doing it with the junior team, with the Spacemen, where they've had a lot of success in Fort Wayne, but now doing it at the pro level, taking all these years of experience working with players and helping guys out. I mean, Nick's the type of guy, if you get to know him, he would give anything to any of his players to help him out. I mean, he is the kindest guy. I used to give him crap all the time because when he'd be trying to sell me one of his players, like, you got to give this guy an opportunity. He'd always say, he'd always call me, he's like, you're going to want this guy, Grammer. Like, this guy is a must. Like, he's going to be a top line guy for him. Like, Nick, I was like, have you seen my team? Like, we have top line guys, like he gets so excited. He sells his guys so hard. He's so passionate because he cares so much. And, that's what you want for a guy that's actually representing players. And he's done his players a great service over the years. And now he gets to kind of go more into the management side of things, hockey ops side of things. And, I want this thing to go good for several reasons, but one of the reasons I really want to go good is I want to go good for him because it'd be like for me if it was my first head coaching job at the pro level. It reminds me of when I went to Pensacola as a head coach my first year, which he was around for that, which is ironic. But this is his kind of first big crack at pro hockey on the GM hockey ops kind of side of things. And I'm hoping it goes well for him and for me. And again, like I said, he's done a really good job helping me recruit the team, found some good players, and to work with him on a day-to-day basis is going to be fun.
Awesome. And what in closing, is there anything you want to say to the fans of PD, or even potential fans, maybe people that are on the fence, people are just hearing about the team?
Yeah, well, I think come on out to a game. If you haven't been to a hockey game, it's been a long time since, hockey's been in the Florence PD region. Come out. The game has changed a lot since the PD Pride. The game's a lot faster. The play is different. I think it's even more entertaining now than it used to be 18, 20 years ago. So, give us an opportunity. It's a great family event. Our schedule is going to be really exciting. The promotions are going to be really cool. We want to make it family friendly, and come on out and check us out. Make sure, you see us or the players around in the community. We'd love to talk with you, engage with us. Hockey players are very easy to talk to in the community. We like to talk to people in the community and get feedback. And, for us, to the fans, we're going to do everything we can to put the best product on the ice right away. And, like I said, we'll have our ups and downs just like any hockey team, but just know that behind the scenes, we're going to work our tails off to give you guys the best product we can have. And to the other FPHL fans, even when we go on the road and stuff, I expect you to boo me and boo my team. But, I'm always outside the bus. You're more than welcome to come and shoot the breeze with me too as well, because at the end of the day, the fans are what makes this league go.
Yeah, 100%. That's awesome. Gary, thank you very much for doing this. And best of luck this year.
Yeah. Best of luck with your podcast. You did a great job. Thanks.
Thanks, Gary. Hey guys, our new merch drop is live now on SH360. Visit 360.swanhockey.com and you can access it now. Once an item is gone, it may never return. You can also check the time capsule for older items. All SH360 purchases have season pass points attached. Just make sure that you use the same email address on SH360 as you do for Swan Hockey Digital. For more information or help with season pass, join the Discord.
And there you have it. Your Beyond the Glass look into the Pee Dee Ice Cats. Let's do our proof of attendance token code for watching or listening to this episode. The proof of attendance token code is going to be Ice Cats. Enter the code at swanhockey.io on the podcast page, and you will be eligible to receive your proof of attendance token for watching or listening to this episode. These tokens double as raffle tickets. They also have your season pass points attached to them if you're participating in our free rewards program, Season Pass, which is aimed towards giving you more for things you already do, such as watching or listening to this podcast. If you need help, if you need help with Season Pass or Swan Hockey Digital, join the Discord. And yeah, we're pretty much, it's going to be season time here. Not much longer. So I will see you guys soon.
Thank you for being the best part of this episode of FPHL Beyond the Glass by Swan Hockey. We will see you soon.